Hello and welcome to Hooting Mandrills. Lorwyn Eclipsed is finally here after our long dark journey through universes, not entirely dark journey through universes beyond. If we sound like shit in this video, it is not Jeremy's fault. I am sick and recording remotely, so it could be for either of those reasons. And if we don't sound like shit, that is Jeremy's great success and competence with audio, for which you can thank maybe is Berklee College of Music education. So there are 20 special guests in Lorwyn. Some of them are new to Arena, and we'll talk about them. Though first I did want to touch on a couple of Avatar Eternal cards that I missed last time around that have gotten some buzz in Legacy. The better of which is Katara Waterbending Master, 1 and a blue for a 1/3 legendary human warrior ally. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you gain an experience counter, and whenever Katara attacks, you may draw a card for each experience counter you have. If you do, discard a card. So, classic commandery design that starts to look a little weird when you put it into 60 card construct formats, because you get to play 4 of these things, and the first one gives you experience counters for the second one. And people have compared this card to Dreadhorde Arcanist, Legacy players have, and said, this looks pretty good. The reason that Dreadhorde Arcanist is banned in Legacy is because, and Ragavan, and at some point Tamiyo, and, whatever else, is that these cards get really, really good when they're backed up by Daze and Force of Will. Historic and Timeless, like Dreadhorde Arcanist and Ragavan and all these other cards, as well as Hydroponics Architect, which is just much better than any of them, are legal. And Daze is not, and nor is Force of Will. So how good is this? How good is playing this thing past turn, snuff out or maybe Force of Negation to get an experience counter? The other one is...
It seems tough.
Yeah. The other one is Fire Nation Occupation, which is sort of the same deal. It is a black 3-drop, so, cast off Dark Ritual. It is, however, worse than Necropotence or Sorin Imperious Bloodlord as a thing to cast off Dark Ritual. But, you flash an Orcish Bowmasters or Snuff Out, and when it enters, it starts making 2/2s with Firebending. Is that good? By timeless
It's just hard. People have been talking about in Standard how cards that cost 3 mana are unplayable. And that's not exactly true, obviously, but it must get worse as you turn the clock back.
Head by making cards that cost less than 7 unplayable. Thanks, Eldrazi Temple. But
right.
all of this feels like it really needs either Daze or Force of Will to even be a thing that you're considering. It needs better free interaction that keeps this stuff in play. And there's also a 3-drop that we probably won't talk about in the main set review that also does stuff when you cast spells on opposing turns. But I sort of think this is all just not quite there. But they're close enough that I wanted to talk about them.
Commander stuff that maybe could. They may just put Daze in one of these, arena packages at some point. I think that they're waiting on Force of Will is also in the cube. So at some point, probably these cards are coming. At what time, no idea. And these cards get better once you have those.
Also, like I said, Hydroponics Architect is this little throwaway alchemy uncommon is in a fetch land format like Timeless, especially a fetch strip format like Timeless, just much, much better than Tamiyo or Ragavan or Psychic Frog or any of these other things that are too good for Legacy that you would care to name. I don't know what that card's going to look like when Daze and Force of Will arrive on the client. It might be too good now.
Yeah, Hydroponics Architect looks completely cracked. I don't play any of these formats, but if you could fetch any land, in your deck, essentially, you probably have a couple of, lands that are not fetchable, but, you just fetch whatever land you hit.
What it hits is random, but, sometimes it hits another fetch, and, whatever, you'd lose a second point of life and fetch anyway. Sometimes it hits your strip mine, and then you get to fetch your strip mine, and it makes them basic.
It would becomes a basic. Oh, I didn't even fully read the thing. That's crazy. Yeah.
I was playing a game the other day against one of these things, and it's just like I didn't have an answer for it right away. So, and it like fetched 3 strip mines in a row, which usually I don't mind that much, but getting stripped. But yeah, this thing is
three
nasty.
in a row is hard to play against. For sure. Yeah, I mean, that thing seems really good.
Also, just makes them basics for some reason, so they work around Blood Moon.
And you can, even in Historic, you
Cartel,
can just
so you have to play a cantrip Cartel. That's effectively part of your mana base, so the actual number of lands is pretty low, and that increases the chance that you'll hit a strip mine if that's what you want to do. So Katara...
All in all, Hydroponics Architect, good card. Katara and Fire Nation, bad cards. No, they may be good at some point, but they need a little more help.
Katara might be the truth in Legacy. People have posted some results with her, but, in the format where Hydroponics Architect never existed and where Ragavan and Dreadhorde Arcanist and probably someday Tameo and Psychic Frog are banned, could be real. In Historic and Timeless, not really real. So, moving on to actual new cards. There are also some face commanders from this set, which make it onto Arena. This is, I think, the best one as a constructed card for Arena Eternal formats. Ashling the Limitless, 2 and a red, cast off Ancient Tomb, hit your knee with a hammer, and elemental spells you cast from your hand have Evoke 4. That is actually eroded to elemental permanent spells. That is not a relevant piece of text for any constructed play with this card. Whenever you sacrifice a non-token elemental, create a token that is a copy of it. The token gains haste until end of turn. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice it unless you play a cost that means this color has 5-color identity for commander. I say the first line of text is not relevant, but maybe in Historic you can there's a
is there
some big elemental
take advantage
Titan of Industry that you can cheat in. I think that if this card sees any play, and I don't think I think this is not the best way of building a black mid-range deck in the format, but it casts off Ancient Tomb and it sort of half scams Grief and Fury and gets in for a bunch of damage. That's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, even you play this guy out and then you just straight up scam your Grief or Fury, right? And then you get a copy of it. And then you could also, I suppose, scam the real one on top of all that if you were... that's a considerable amount of triggers. So that's decent. I was wondering if you could actually pay for it if you were playing some kind of Omnath nonsense, but I don't know. I'm not the person to figure that out. It's not really
Omnath is still nerfed in Historic.
Oh, right. Yeah, I always forget all about that stuff.
There's no reason why he should be. There's only one fetch in the format, and
I'm going to be the first one to say it on this stream. Let's delete the Alchemy format and restore Historic so that we can... I mean, Pioneer is completely ruined by Corey Steelcutter at the moment, so it's banned in Standard. Can we just, have it in a format we could actually play it on Arena? Can you just, unnerf it at Historic? I don't know. Anyway... this card's okay. Not very good, I don't think. But maybe someone's got degenerate ideas that I'm not seeing.
This is another face commander that I think is pretty fringe. Auntie Ool, Cursewretch, 1 and Jund for a 4/4. Ward Blight 2. And Ward Blight 2 is the only reason we're talking about this card at all. Because that is actually pretty annoying. Kind of hard to kill. Ward is a triggered ability. So, also, if our set review is somehow the first one that you've seen for this set, a player blights 2 by putting 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature they control. Or I think that should be on creatures they control, and which is
a creature on Ool.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. But anyway, because Ward is a triggered ability, they blight when it resolves, so you can sometimes blow out their removal spell with your removal spell, denying them the ability to blight or making them blight in a way that is much worse for them. That's sort of cool. The Jund 4-drop that this is competing with is Pyroglyph. So,
not good enough.
Actual Jund, No. Maybe, like, if
Is there a goblin stack that's... I mean, the goblin lands are improving from this set, I suppose.
The problem with goblins isn't so much that they can't cast the spells or that they don't do goblin things or that they're missing pieces in Historic. Problem is that, like, the same problem
the other decks are too good.
Kindred decks have in Modern is, energy is just a better small creature deck, a better synergy deck, and it's also really good at ripping other small creature decks to shreds. So that's the problem.
Cat is the best Kindred, after all. Okay, is the green card that doesn't allow you to put -1 counters on creatures available in Historic, or is that one not?
So there's the white card, Solemnity, which if you have
there's
a Solemnity,
2-cost green creature. It's going to take me too long to look it up, but there's some 2-cost green creature. We'll put it on the slide
after the fact if it exists on Arena. That would prevent them from paying the ward cost and give this thing hexproof. That's sort of cool. It also has a line of text about...
it's you only. So, like, you can't put -1/-1 counter. I doubt it, or somebody would be doing persist shenanigans with it already, probably. But
persist shenanigans, that might be a home for this if you are, the person who really wants to try playing goblins, some sort of persist combo like the Grumgully Putrid Goblin stuff. The second line of text, the thing that you actually build around when you make this your commander, that whenever one or more -1/-1 counters are put on a creature, draw a card if you control that creature. If you don't control that creature, its controller loses 1 life. And this is going to come up a lot. The way that this works is that the -1/-1, if you bring back a Putrid Goblin with a Grumgully, the -1/-1 counter is put on it, as is the 1/1 counter, and then they cancel as a state-based action. So if you go through your loop but don't have a win con, this digs you toward it. Runvelt Hordemaster also does that, assuming your win con is itself a goblin. But, you're prospectoring through this loop. This could dig you to a bombardment if that was what you wanted to play as your win con for whatever reason. Though you probably wouldn't want that. So probably this is just redundancy in that same role as Hordemaster in a deck like that. But like I said, it's kind of hard to kill, so that's not nothing, but yeah, probably pretty fringe.
Yeah, seems fringe. All right, let's move on to our next card, which is not fringe in Legacy. I guess
it is Modern. It used to be a big player in Modern, Devoted Druid. It is not going to be a player in Historic because they said so, because they are pre-banning it there. The combo pieces that allow you to go infinite with Devoted Druid are on Arena. I think this is worse than Val combo in Historic. I think it is pretty clearly so. And if you look at what they said here, it's mostly just they think it's annoying to click through.
That's probably true.
Yeah. I suspect this is pretty dead on arrival and timeless. It hasn't been much of a player in Modern for some time. Interaction's a bit too good. There's also no Walking Ballista on Arena. Not that you can't figure out a way to win with infinite mana.
Mana. That's certainly an easy one.
But yeah, pre-banned, it would probably be worse than the existing creature combo deck in Historic, which is, some people have huffed some copium and are trying to think that, oh, no, this surely means they will do something about Val or Eldrazi or insert other format boogeyman here at some point to where this banning makes sense. And, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. I mean, we can keep going on about how they don't care about Historic, but we'll get red in the face and get nowhere. So that is what it is. I mean, they do seem to care about Standard, and people are still complaining there. So who knows? I don't think that this card really breaks anything, but it's a cool card for sure. Pauper All-Star Faerie Macabre, 1 black fairy rogue 2/2, flying, discard this card, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. You tell me. It's a good card, but is this better than Surgical?
It sees Legacy play. It's, in competition with Surgical Extraction for this sort of free graveyard interaction. I think this will see a fair bit of play. If you're a Necro deck, this does not hurt you. Surgical Surgical has upsides. You know, I've definitely won games by in Timeless by, you know, grief you, take show and tell, surgical show and tell, and you know this does not do that. But show and tell is on the downswing. Right? Yeah, show and tell's on the downswing right now for a number of reasons. If you are playing Necro, 2 cards is often worth, or 2 life is often worth 2 cards. This is basically doing the job that without spending life. That's pretty.
In worst case, if you need a body, I don't know, especially in a Necro deck.
Oh, for sure. Like I would say if I were to swap out, which I probably will at least try, my surgical extractions for Faerie Macabres, I'm gonna just run this out to get Guide of Souls triggers. I might even Dark Ritual this out to get Guide of Souls triggers some number of times. It's a thing do.
It's a thing you can do. It's playable in your black deck. Yeah.
And, you know, it's also a creature, so you can hit it off of Overlord, cards like that, if you're playing cards like that.
That's nice, yeah.
I think this is a very reasonable sideboard card. I think the meta might be in a position,
not in a Necro deck, but
where a lot of decks are going to be interested in playing this over Surgical.
Yeah, I mean, it just diversifies what you can do to a graveyard. I think it's good. Up next, we have Goblin Sharpshooter for 2 and a red. It's a Goblin 1/1. This creature doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever a creature dies, untap this creature. Tap, this creature deals 1 damage to any target. So
pretty modern all-star, but you know, is it actually better than the other sack payoffs that goblins have access to? It shoots creatures, which is something. Does it shoot creatures well enough to
creatures and or planeswalkers, I suppose? But if you're going infinite, it doesn't matter, right?
Right. So I mean, of course, if you're going infinite, then
planeswalkers are that good against your goblin deck anyway.
I mean, Johnny is.
True.
Yeah. The best planeswalker in Historic is very good against your goblin deck. I don't see this fixing the energy matchup for goblins. I don't know if that matchup is fixable. I think that other than maybe being able to shoot down some small creatures, this is just worse than Mons or Slingang as your sack payoff for your goblin deck. But, you know, it's a cool old card.
Yeah, we like old cards. All right. Up next is another old card. Manamorphose, 1 and a hybrid red-green. Add 2 mana in any combination of colors, draw a card. So you see this in all sorts of Storm type decks in all sorts of formats, where if you can cost reduce it, then you get your mana up and drawing cards. I don't know anything else to say about this card. It's good.
I mean,
people are already playing Ruby Storm in Historic and stuff, kind of, right? I guess it's
not really. This might get. I don't know if this gets you there on Ruby Storm and Historic, because there aren't any other rituals. Is the problem in Timeless? There's Seething Song, which is banned in Modern. The Storm deck in Historic is Lotus Field, which I am not sure if that deck is interested in this. I had
mostly want to untap your lands and stuff, right?
Yeah, talked to some Lotus Field sickos, and they are pretty skeptical that the deck wants Manamorphose, or that it helps move the needle too much on the deck. But there might be some sort of artist talent deck, Storm style deck, that would be interested in the card. You know, there are some weird cards like this alchemy card, Spell Chain Scatter, that people were talking about. When you cast your next instant or sorcerer spell this turn, conjure a duplicate of that spell into your hand. If the spell wasn't kicked, discard the duplicate at the beginning of your next end step. So, like, you know, you cast.
You need to pay the kicker.
Why would you? You cast this. Anyway. You cast Manamorphose. You get another Manamorphose. You get another card. You cast another Manamorphose with the mana that you just made. You get another card. You have 2 mana. You know, you've maybe triggered artist talent 3 times in the course of this as well. Maybe there's a Storm deck here. I'm not the person to figure it out. I like Storm, but I am not experienced enough with Storm in formats where Storm is a thing to really be the person in the lab on this. You know, it's also a card that you can just play in like Phoenix if you're trying to do that in Historic instead of Pioneer for some reason. I mean, not that there aren't reasons. You know, Corey Steelcutter is nerfed in Historic for...
There are also reasons not to.
Yes, that's one of them. Maybe you're trying to do Burning Tree Emissary stuff, or, you know, Breach is...
Rally the Hornburg, we're really going full out, huh? I mean, I don't know what Burning Tree Emissary Manamorphose you're trying to do with that, but...
Ornithopter, Burning Tree Emissary, Manamorphose, Chatterstorm, Big Convoke Dinosaur. Is that good? No. I've tried it before. Does Manamorphose make it better? Maybe. Underworld Breach is legal in Historic, so, you know, never say never. And obviously there are a lot of pieces in Timeless to do, you know, weird, horrifying things with this card. So I think this is probably
it's a good card.
The most important card on these bonus sheets, and, you know, be aware of it.
It may not be tomorrow, but someday this card will matter on Arena. Do they let you play stuff like this when they do the Pauper events on Arena?
So I think they will, because in more recent sets with bonus sheets, they have been better about giving you the correct rarity. Also, Manamorphose, while it hasn't been craftable yet, is in the cube, the powered cube, and that version should be craftable when this becomes craftable, and that version is the normal version, so it's a common. So I think this will be craftable at common and playable in
if they make Arena Pauper, I'll delete standard. I'll quit. Don't think I won't.
But that's why they won't make it. It's
because I won't ever play anything else.
You will never spend.
I'll never spend a wild card again.
Wild card if they do the right thing. And I think some of the deep places in Magic Discord run Historic Pauper tournaments, but
maybe I got to get involved. Maybe maybe I should stop playing on the ladder altogether and just become a hermit and play Arena Pauper with other cooked individuals. I don't know. This card's sick though. I mean, obviously Ruby Storm and Pauper, this is a big deal for that. Seething Song as well. But yeah, anyway, cool card. We can move along to Painter's Servant. Is this card not on Arena already?
It is not. Grindstone was. Grindstone made it on in the bonus sheet for OTJ. And this is getting pre-banned in Historic. I don't know that I buy this rationale. I've heard people say that maybe it's because this combo is colorless, so it sort of can slot into a lot of things, but I don't know what Historic deck would really just jam this in that already exists.
Some kind of Green Sun Zenith nonsense, I'm guessing.
You can't Green Sun for Painter unless you already have a Painter.
Right, but you can Green Sun anything in your deck that you maybe weren't able to before. I don't know that it's great. I'm not selling you on it. I'm not selling myself, but I'm just saying that's the only purpose.
Because I don't think you could. Seems good. Yeah, I don't think you could put this in Green Devotion really effectively. Like if you're Karning twice and spending 6 mana in Green Devotion, you're just winning the game. If you're putting these cards main deck, that's just making your main deck worse. It's missing a lot of the pieces of the Legacy Painter decks. This just seems like it is another thing that's just worse than Val combo. It's possible that there's something I'm not thinking of. It is a Luris compliant combo as well, which matters in Historic and Timeless and doesn't matter in Legacy. But yeah, it seems like it's missing pieces. People are going to try it.
What's making, I don't know.
People are going to try it in Timeless. You can play Painter name Blue, and then your Mystical Disputes target everything, and your lands and stuff pitch to Commandeer and Force of Negation. Maybe Blue Painter will do something in Timeless. Goblin Engineer is on Arena, though the other Goblin Welder and Saga, Goblin Welder is not, and Saga isn't craftable. So Red Painter is missing significant numbers of pieces. I don't know. I don't think this would have been a huge problem in Historic. And again, if this means that they are gonna bring the power level of the format down to a point where banning Painter's Servant makes sense, I'm all about it. But
that would be,
I'll believe it when I see it.
A big amount of curation, which we have not seen from them on this format. So
yes, I will believe it when I see it. And currently, I can't see anything on the horizon in Historic because Eldrazi Temple is in the way.
Yeah, that seems like just like if other free mana is not allowed, why is this one? It just doesn't make any sense. It's just like the ethos of the format is contradictory to this card, and it's just allowed to stay. I mean, these are a lot of the reasons why I don't play Historic at all, is because it's horrible. And they don't care about it, you know? Like, I like all those old cards. I really enjoy them. You just can't play any of the ones you want because you have to play the best MH3 cards.
I desperately want to love Historic, but I do kind of hate every deck in it. And
that makes, I mean...
it's an unfortunate place to be, for sure. But, you know, until we get evidence otherwise, we assume that Historic is kind of going to be the way that it is, and that it is the way that it is because someone at WotC is engaged in Congress with Eldritch Horrors, which is why Eldrazi Temple is legal. Anyway, here's another weird face commander. The Reaper, King No More. 3 Tubrid Jund is, I guess, how I would describe this cost. So it is technically mana value 6 for the purposes of cards like Beans and Cabaret Rebels. When it enters, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So that's a decent ETB. And whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Do this only once each turn. So, you know, if you play Beanstalk on 2, play this thing on 3, and kill an Ocelot Pride, you are just having the best time. You are vibing. I don't know how likely that is. You know, Jund Beans would be a cool thing to be good in Historic, but
Hooting Mandrills, a possibility.
You don't even cascade.
I mean, it's pretty good with Cabaret Rebels as well.
You don't even cascade into the mandrills off of the Reaper King because they both have mana value 6. You hit probably Black Overlord if you're in Jund.
You can play Malevolent Rumble. You can play Overlord of the Veilmore.
Yeah, I want to believe in many things about this deck, including maybe this card. I'm not sure if I do, but
you can't unearth this guy.
No, you cannot. He is mana value 6. It doesn't work
fun on both sides.
You also can't Fatal Push this guy. So
cannot be Fatal Push. Does not die to Fatal Push. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. It also doesn't die to, you know, like Galvanic Discharge or whatever in Historic.
Not unless they've gotten at least one deck.
Yeah.
Ever happen.
Yeah, it does, but like, you know, on its own, they have to accrue some value in order for that to happen.
Fun of you, I'm just like riffing.
Yeah, no, you're good. All right, we got one card left, which is the Slippery Boggle for hybrid green-blue 1/1 hexproof beast. So yeah, another Pauper All-Star. It's been a modern All-Star many moons ago, but not for a long time. So yeah, if you can guess what you do with this card is slam enchantments on it. There's 2 different hexproof creatures at 1.
Yeah.
So that makes the deck a lot more playable.
Was in it was in Pioneer Masters, I think. Got on Arena at some point. Yeah, so this would be a pretty different Auras deck from the Auras deck that currently exists in Historic, but, you know, it seems like a thing that could be real. You know, Sheltered by Ghosts and Shardmage's Rescue have sort of pulled the Auras decks away from these sort of Boggle creatures and more towards, you know, the big payoffs like Light Paws and Strom, just because, you know, if you can protect them anyway, like they're.
And the cartouche card is legal, right?
Yeah, basically all of the Auras cards that you would think about. Not all of the Umbras that used to see play in old modern Boggles are legal, but there are some in MH3
replacement,
that are like as good or better. There's also Kaya's Ghost Form, which you sometimes see as a Light Paws target already.
It's been unplayable in Modern for 10 years, and all those cards that are keeping it out of the playability are legal in Historic, but
yeah, I mean,
it's there.
Is pretty good. The existing Boros Auras deck in Historic is quite good. And
Luris makes a big deal. That's not in Modern, yeah.
Like I said, this is a different deck, but it is still a Luris compliant deck if you want it to be. So,
yeah, I mean, it's fun. I'm glad it's here, you know, and this one's not in the cube. This card sucks, so like this would not be in the cube.
Yeah, you would have to do a ton.
So,
but
this one, yeah.
on Arena through a bonus sheet. They did not make you spend mythic wildcards on it. They let it be common. So I think that is their policy now. I think that this will only cost you a common and wildcard to own a digital slippery Boggle.
Oh yeah, I'm not so tilted about the wild. I was just going back
and for Pauper as well.
Arena Pauper. That's my biggest dream, is that they allow us to play Arena Pauper. Because I mean,
it's going to be the midweek
obviously I couldn't play like
a week or two.
Soon. All right, I'll clear my schedule and just play that instead. It's a cool card. I feel like the bonus sheet wasn't super exciting. I mean, we've been getting some pretty busted cards to talk about from bonus sheets recently, but I'm happy to see all these new cards.
But some relevant cards and some maybe interesting builder rounds here and there. The defining feature of the Arena Eternal formats is that their card pools are so
insane.
Fucking weird. And
that's what's fun about Historic. Yeah, that's the best part.
And so it's like cool to see what new stuff comes in and talk about it and speculate and hope and cope.
And just talk about how maybe one day you'll be able to play these cards instead of the horrible ones that you actually have to play. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.